think Patrick's on mute still.
Oh no!
Yeah,
This whole time I've been talking. My bad. See, so now you can't be nervous. I'm the one who messed up. I was like, man, that Atari sweatshirt is so dope, right? And I was like, hey guys, welcome to the Dreamer Cypher. All that stuff. Thank you for that.
Good stuff.
Appreciate it. See, so now you can't be nervous. I messed up. We're good.
Can y'all hear my dog? He's tripping out.
No, can't.
Okay, good.
So Amber, Scott, Amber. Nice for you guys to officially connect. Chat, welcome. Good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in. So before we get into some stuff, I know Amber has some news to share, but I want to build that up a little bit because I haven't heard it yet. I'm super excited because she's excited. But I want to kick us off with this thing, and it's really kind of messed me up in a good way. Okay? Because it's like, in some ways it's giving me permission, and in some ways it's kind of like, really? Is this legit? But there's this new show on Netflix, and it's basically talking about the history and the power of cuss words. Have you guys seen it yet?
It's right up my alley, though. Let's go.
Dude, it literally goes through, and it basically talks about how these words came to be, but also the power and the emphasis behind it. Like, did you know that if you were cussing, right, like they did an experiment that if they could like stick their hand in freezing cold water, the people that were able to cuss were double the amount of time for normal people. Right? Like when you're cussing, you get like a 30% stronger grip when you're saying the word fuck. It's a point of emphasis. It's crazy. Like the psyche behind it, right? What up, Salmon Raccoon? Good to see you, brother. How's life? But no, dude, it's crazy, right? So the very first word, I mean, like the whole intro is Nicolas Cage just saying the word fuck over and over. The second one, I think, was shit. So it's an entire series. Again, I would love to see the statistical data behind it. But, you know, what's crazy is that, like, those two words can literally be everything. A noun, a preposition, a verb. You know, they could be at the beginning of a sentence. They could be at the end. They could be a single word sentence. I mean, they're really universal in terms of how it started. And it's such a weird way, right? What's up, Mr. Blu-ray? So it's so interesting. But yeah, so I just watched the first 2 episodes. I don't know how many are in that season, but it was really interesting to see that. But you think about it, every day you hear it, and it's like, you know, for the longest time, a lot of the history of it, a lot of people didn't know where it came from. So they try to go back and back up as much historical data that they can. You know, a lot of these people who study language, a lot of these people, all these things, but it's definitely interesting. So I highly recommend it, and then we can reconvene to discuss. But I know you'll love it for sure, Scott.
Of course, and I think that's why I'm called the Rock Eater by Q. If nobody's ever seen the Never Ending Story, there's a character in there that is the Rock Eater or something like that. So it's funny, but maybe that's where all of it comes into play, is with all the fucks and shits. And here we go.
Yeah, it is interesting for sure. I'll give it that. You know, some people might feel like it's just looking for ways to basically promote it. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that we're not in like the 80s, right, where we're censored and you better not cuss, you better not say that stuff anymore. Like, it's just kind of, it's evolved, right? I mean, it's still funny when little kids say it. It's still wrong, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, as a person, as a poet, as a wordsmith, you know, all those things, like, you're never going to limit my language and the way that I speak, right? Because I need to be able to use all the languages. Big shout out to Soul and Garrett. Thank you guys for being here this evening. Good to see you. I'm checking that out. They say that those who cuss are actually better at expressing emotions or something like that. Yeah, that was one of the things that they talked about, is that,
I believe it.
You know, when you drop an F-bomb, there's so much conviction behind it, right? And that's still the ultimate, like, in some ways it still stings, right? If somebody comes up to you and they piss you off or whatever, and you're like, hey, fuck you, right? Like, that is still the ultimate sting. Like, it doesn't matter anything else that you come up with. That's the one that
And
still
it feels so
hurts.
good when you say it.
Yeah. And like, it's expression for when you're upset. It can be celebration, right? Like, what the fuck, or fuck yeah, it's so weird, like how that word is so universal and can be fit in any single thing. It's so crazy when you think
But
about it.
I think it's unique too, because if you remember when Miriam and I had done the presentation at 1 Million Cups, and I had talked about using the F word, I could not say fuck on stage because it's frowned upon when it comes to that community. And there was an individual in the audience that's like, so people are drawn to you cuss, and I was like, some people are. Like, that's just who you are potentially attracted to and whatnot. But it is unique just based on when you look at older individuals, because like my grandparents, my grandmother will watch what we do and she'll be like, I can't believe you said that. And so I'm like, well, it's just a word. But ultimately, like, who determines what is a bad word? Who ultimately makes that determination?
Correct. And so for those of you who don't know, or maybe those of you who are misinformed, I was definitely misinformed. They basically said that whole story of the acronym standing for fornication under consent of the king is a complete hoax. Right? And so I was like, wow, because even when I said it, they talked about it, and Sharon was like, how do you know that, right? And then they're like, yeah, that's not real. And I'm like, oh. So it's pretty funny, though. But it is crazy how statistically behind it, there's a prowess, it's an expression, it's also kind of a form of strength, right? And so the power of words, the power of, in this case, cuss words, so I definitely want to watch the series, come back and talk about that. And again, maybe this is telling, maybe it's not, who knows, but we show up unscripted. So, Amber, what is your favorite, or what is your go-to cuss word?
In English, probably shit.
How do you think that you use it the most? Is it more in a awesome connotation, like you're the shit, or is it more of like,
it's more in a like, oops,
like I'm in deep shit?
Oh,
oopsies.
Like, oh, I dropped that, or I didn't mean to.
Oh shit, like that.
Yeah.
What about you, Scott?
I would ask you the question, what do you think it is?
I think it's fuck, man.
I think you're right. Honestly, it's I look at it, I think that is the go-to word, and it's just a word, but it's unique because I do try to be mindful, especially around my kids, not saying it. Yeah. And so it's one of those things that you do have to tailor. But that's the other thing, though, too. It's like, it's all of our perception. So ultimately, if you have this connotation, oh, that's a bad word, and then you jump on your kids for saying it, like, that's not a good thing either, though, because that could be a detriment to your kids, because it's just a form of expression. But for whatever reason, parents have this ideology of, I'm better than my kids, I have more power over my kids, so you better not say that. And it's one of those unique things, especially being in the role of a parent and having kids. It's one of those catch-22s, because ultimately you have to do what's best for you as the individual. Yes. And that's where you start ripping out the old paradigm and the old programming and find what works best for you. And so if cussing is just part of it, okay. If somebody doesn't like it, then that's on them. What's their perception? What are their lenses that they're looking at it? So,
well, and it's kind of like anything else, right? There's a certain time when you do have to have a professional acumen, right? Because it has to fit the audience for certain things. I'm not saying that you can't express yourself and be yourself, because guess what? You're, at the end of the day, that's what you're going to do. You're going to be comfortable with who you are, and it's going to come out regardless, right? Mm-hmm. But there is kind of like that business piece where maybe you test the waters. Maybe you're kind of, you're not just gonna come out there and be like, "Hey, my name's fucking Scott. How the fuck are you doing today?" Right? I mean, you don't. That's not how it works, right? But you are gonna come out there like, "Hey, my name's Scott Brandt. What do you do?" Like, "Oh, I'm just like really fucking passionate about helping people," and people will be like, "Whoa." Okay, I see you, man. Like that's cool, right? And again, it's that point of emphasis. I think for most of us, right? It's not just because we just want to cuss. I think a lot of it is this true expression about how we feel about something. Because if you put the F word anywhere in there, man, at one point it's like, whoa, that's super powerful, right? Because if I would have just said like, man, this sucks, right? Like I can put as much emphasis on one on there, and that's cool. But if I'm like, dude, this fucking sucks, right? And all of a sudden, you just know how bad it is. So it's weird how there's a certain place in your brain where that gets instilled. And of course, like in foreign languages, what's the first thing that we typically learn? The bad words, the cuss words, right? So it's a weird spot, honestly, when you think about it. Nicole says, I would agree, but having teenagers in today's world makes that a whole lot of fun to figure out and teach them the right way. Yeah, no, again, with kids, with teenagers, it's definitely a fine line because, again, you don't want them just randomly using that word in the wrong connotation, right? You don't want them to be that person like where that's all that comes out of their mouth, because again, in little kids it's kind of cute. In teenagers, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna smack this kid, and then as an adult, you're just like, oh, whatever, he's annoying. So it is, again, there's a lot of these different connotations to go with it. It's kind of interesting. Anyhow, I think as we move into the Cypher, I would definitely like to just kind of highlight the Chicken Coop, local bar here in Colorado Springs. Amazing community type of group. Man, they're doing things like a daily happy hour. It's a go-to spot for a lot of our local veterans. They do not during COVID, live bands and poker, and but more importantly, the heart of the Chicken Coop going out there to help and support and be a community place, right? So again, just want to give a big shout out to them as part of the sponsorship, but more importantly, just as I think as a staple for the community right here in Black Forest. So go ahead and check them out, facebook.com/the Chicken Coop. And again, drop them a follow, share their stuff, and a clucking a good time, I believe, is their tagline. I love it.
Yep. And then also go check out, I did that live with Sherry today, with Miss Sherry. So you can really get the insight to who Miss Sherry is. So that's another avenue that if you want to know the owner of the Chicken Coop, that's the way to go. So it was a good time, about 20 minutes of talking and whatnot. But I told her, thank you for allowing us to have her as a sponsor and to trust us. But then she's like, thanks for allowing me to come be with you guys too. So it's a beautiful thing with the sponsorship.
Absolutely. And the most important piece, again, is that what they offer in the community. And that's so underwritten. The first time we got a chance to meet her, and they have this whole wall dedicated to the people that they've lost that was part of their community. So it's a great way to keep the memory of those who were there. To share some of the stories of what they've done for their community members is really incredible. So I highly encourage, especially if you live right here in Colorado, go and check them out, go and support them. Just an incredible person, and the dream behind everything, and being a staple for, again, this community is, again, I mean, I can't give them enough credit for that. So
I don't know how Amber's taking this live right now, because I know she did her first live a couple weeks ago. So I got to give a shout out to Amber. And I know she was also talking about being nervous, which you got to take advantage. Get people, let people know who you are. And so I want to find out, because you had done the live, and I think Patrick said you guys had met originally, and then you went and did the live. For yourself, Amber, when you look at it, what is the biggest maybe challenge or obstacle that you have when it comes to doing a live? What is the biggest challenge that you have when it comes to doing lives?
My nerves.
Okay.
My nerves, yeah. Like I have a lot of good ideas, and then I have things I want to say, and then I start talking really fast, and then I'm like, okay, done, bye.
I like how
And that's
Patrick
how
has
it
this
goes.
spotlighted.
Yeah, right.
I know. Why did you do that?
Because we got to get you out of your nerves. But you know what? I think the thing is, though, when you look at that, like people are going to resonate. And so you've got to message whatever that message is, you've got to share it. And one of the best ways is really the Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, whatever platform you decide to go with. But I think the other thing, too, is while you're doing your everyday job, it does allow it where people can come and check you out. And so if you have individuals that are moving from out of state into Colorado, by having those lives and letting people know who you authentically are, it's a great way. That's like knocking out a bunch of 101s. And so somebody can share your video, be like, hey, go check out Amber. Great individual, great heart, got a passion for what she loves to do. And so it's a great touch point if you honestly think about it. So just as long as you don't get put in Facebook jail or whatnot.
I've never been to any kind of jail, and I don't plan on it.
Shout out to Sherry for also being here this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Man, we're just so excited to be a part of your community now, Sherry. You've done an amazing job of building something, building a tribe, and we talk about that all the time. And so it's so amazing to see the things that you're doing for your community, for your tribe, and how you take care of people. And I hope that the community and that we ourselves can also turn around and be the tribe for you that you need during this time. And again, we're just over the moon to be able to connect with you, but we're also kind of going through a lot of the stuff with you, and we just want to be there to help out wherever we can. So please don't hesitate to reach out in any sort of way. Definitely not going to put out any of those things out there. But I think that people who are interested can definitely check out some of the story more on your Facebook page. So first of all, let's do, again, I know Amber has some exciting news, and that's the whole reason why she's here, right? But I know
You just keep dragging it out.
I do.
Let's see how long we can go.
Purpose. He wants to keep me on here longer, and so
yeah, I do. I do. Because
like
of my thought process.
In the background, like I can't see them.
Right.
We can see them for you though. So they're right now. They're well behaved. So.
Okay. So can I just do like a quick 1 minute rapid fire questions, and you just kind of answer them?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And these are completely random. I just found them online here, literally as you guys were talking. So, okay. So let's start simple. What has been the high point and the low point of your day today so far?
Oh boy.
Without giving away the
news. The high point of my day, I know it's difficult. I have not had a low point today. I will say that. My high point today, I guess it started at 6 a.m. with a phone call from my CEO.
Oh.
And it has carried on all day long today.
And ending up here on the Dreamer Cypher.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, I'm just gonna self-plug. So thank you for that. Give me that one. Okay. Favorite food?
Mexican. Actual dish?
Yes.
That's a toughie. Any kind of taco, but I really do love chilaquiles.
Ooh, I love chilaquiles too.
Yeah.
Scott, do you like chilaquiles?
It's probably under some other name, so that I'm just over here smiling because I love food in general. So,
all right, we're gonna go get some chilaquiles.
Yeah, I know a good spot.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, we're gonna do that. Shout out to Kelly Reeves for basically giving me the go ahead and just buy more food. If you actually go to sit down restaurant for 2021 and 2022, don't be cheap. Don't go to McDonald's. Go to an actual sit down restaurant, and it is 100% tax deductible instead of the standard 50%. So, okay. Are you into true crime?
Yes.
Anything that you're following or any particular story that you like?
No, but I watch it all the time.
Okay. Coffee or tea drinker?
Coffee.
Okay. And are there any YouTube vices or videos that you follow or series or some of those things that basically would be telling of you're like, I don't want people to know that I watch those?
Definitely not. I'm not a fan of YouTube that much. I'm not supposed to say that. I mainly use it to like listen to music. Like my kids know all these things, and I'm just like, quite frankly, all these YouTubers are just like nails on a chalkboard. Like, the kids are watching that.
So
I wonder where we fall at in line with this then, since we have their YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we're like the biggest nails on the chalkboard. But hopefully that we're just screaming in people's ears at some point. So Nicole says, where are the best chilaquiles?
It's tough to say, but there's a place, I believe it's off of 8th Street, and it's called Rudy's Breakfast, something like that. I'll have to look it up, but I'll put it in the comments. It's like just Mexican comfort food, and it's delicious.
That sounds so good. I could eat Mexican food all the time. My wife is like, why? We just had that stuff. I'm like, I just love it. Anyhow, so thanks for going through that. Again, I know completely random. So fun facts about Amber. Amber is a quadrilingual, and she is also a realtor right here in town in Colorado Springs.
Lender.
Scott's like quadra.
Quadlingua.
Quadlingua. Is it? How do you say that? Quadrilingual?
I think I would say quadrilingual. That's what I've said my whole time.
Buddy's Hideaway is so good. I agree. Okay. Let me make some notes here. Buddy's Hideaway.
While we're doing this, we're just taking notes.
Oh yeah. I need to know all the food things all the time. I will pause this stream. I don't care to make sure that I know where to go. Thank you. Food is that important to me. So, again, I know, but Scott, if you had to guess and think, what 4 languages does Amber speak? What do you think that they would be?
Spanish, English, of course, Tagalog, and Italian.
Italian or Italian?
Same difference. All right.
All right, Amber. How close was he?
I did hear that.
Based off of figures, it was 2 for 4. Tagalog, Filipino.
No. Portuguese and American Sign Language.
Yes. So I thought that was really cool when I learned that. Like, I know very, very little sign, like I used to know a little bit more back in the day, but I've always thought that was kind of cool. Speaking of sign language, my wife, I guess she didn't know a whole lot about Helen Keller. And so the other day my son was watching this show and she was like, she was blind? I was like, she was deaf and blind. She was like, what? And then she was like, so how did she speak? And they were showing that how she like got the signs in her hands. And I was like, yeah. And then she went on to be a teacher and teach other people. And she's like mind blown, on this stuff. And it's crazy because you just don't know what the things that people learn from different schools and all this stuff, and like so to me, I was like, it was so cool that my wife and my son shared this moment where they're both learning and they're both of them like, whoa, this is so crazy, so anyway, I have a big respect for the sign language piece, and thank you so much for being able to do that as part of your services. I'm sure that's huge for some of your clientele and things like that. With that being said, now that we've gotten a chance to kind of get to know you a little bit better, obviously we want to be able to share a little bit more about your story, but I want to hear about this good news. I want to hear about what has got you so hyped from 6 o'clock this morning.
Well, I'll tell you.
It's so dramatic too. It's like, okay, you've already drawn this out on me, so I'm going to do the same thing to you.
So my company has these emails that go out every day, and it's somebody that works with the company, and they talk about how long they've been there and basically their story. We've been asking for writers for February, and I said, sure, I'll do it. So mine went live this morning, and they go out at like 4 a.m. our time. By 5 a.m., I started getting emails.
Oh no, Facebook. Oh, why is this happening? You're getting cut off. You're like, I can't hear you. All I heard is that something goes out at 4 a.m. and I'm like, what? What goes out?
And then by 5 this morning.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? What is it?
Everyone's like, oh no. Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, so it's called Keep Playing. Can you still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
They go out at around 4 a.m. and it's everybody's story, how they arrived at our company and kind of a little bit of their backstory. They asked for more writers, and I said, sure, I'll share my story. And so I did. And by 5 a.m., emails started flooding back in. I mean, this went out to 9,500 people, and they started flooding in from all over the United States of other people, like, you know, saying the most kind and supportive things. And then I get a call from my CEO at 6:30, and I almost didn't answer it because it was a number I didn't know. And I was like, well, my mailbox is full, so maybe I should just answer it just in case. And I did. And he said, hey, your story touched me today. Here are the things that I want to do for you. And I mean, it's going to come with free coaching. I've been on calls with him all day. Over hundreds of people have responded with encouraging words and thanking me for, you know, the bravery to share my story. It started out, you know, how I got in mortgage. And at the time I was living at a shelter, domestic violence shelter with my kids. And that's where the story came, you know, started and ended here being at my current company. And he's just sending emails to all the executive team, like, from here on out, all her files are priority. We're going to build a wall of protection around you. And the things that were told today were things that I've not heard in a really long time from anyone. And, you know, the CEO kept saying, we're going to build a wall of protection around you so that you can do what you need to do to succeed. It's the least we can do. And I've just been blown away. I can't tell you. I mean, this guy started the company himself. Like, he's the guy. And he's calling me at 6:30 in the morning. I just, you know, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and share your triumphs, you allow yourself to receive the gift that I was given today. And I'm so excited because I know that this is going to propel me to the future. And, you know, coaching, their new programs, 30 for 30, you know, people in their 30s and new in the business. It's just, I mean, this guy that was the commissioner under Obama for the Federal Housing Authority emailed me today because my CEO sent my story to him. I've had people that, like, I shared your story with so-and-so and they shared it with so-and-so, and now they're reaching out to me. And it's, I mean, Kansas, Ohio, Indiana, Nevada, all over. And it was such a win that I needed, and it was such an answer to my prayers today. And I'm so excited that I'm finally seen. And, you know, the CEO was like, this is the answer to your prayer. He's like, and we're going to do what we need to do for you.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. I got chills, honestly.
I got chills too.
Yeah.
Right on the same page here. But I think that's proof right there, because I ultimately tell people, I'm like, you've got to share your story. You've got to share your message. In every struggle that we have, there's a gift inside that struggle. And that was actually from another book that I've read. The Gift is Inside the Struggle, or something of that nature. Bobby Herrera is the one that wrote the book. But it's one of those things that when you look at that, Amber, and you think about your story, you got to the point where you're vulnerable and transparent, but how hard was that for you before you got to this point where I'm just gonna whatever, I'm gonna go share it. Let me just share it. But before that happened, where that kind of flipped for you, how has it been in regards to that struggle that you had and the story that's inside of there? How difficult was that for you, or how much did that impact your life from what took place?
Oh man, I can't wait for this
Um,
because I know a lot of it.
yeah, it impacted my life tremendously. I mean, my manager, when I started 5 years ago, hired me with no experience, and he opened a door for me that had somebody not opened it for me, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I think that people can see when you are trying your best to help yourself, and they're more willing to give you that hand up so then you can keep climbing. Um, I mean, it's taking me 8 years to recover from that. Um, and it's starting over from absolutely nothing in a completely different state, you know. And I've not been a stranger to moving. I moved a lot when I was a kid. I've, sold everything and moved several times. Um, but it's still hard, and not having family, not, I'm literally doing it all on my own on the aspect of my home and my family and work.
Mm.
And so the CEO was like, I'm your uncle now. And basically, I'm in your back pocket, and I want you to aggressively use me if you need to.
Mm.
I mean,
Man,
it's huge. And I've had people calling me on the phone. I've had, these emails started at 5 o'clock this morning, and they're still going now.
Mm.
you know what's amazing is that in the short amount of time that I've known Amber, we've kind of gone through the whole gamut of emotions of everything, right? Um, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but what I love is that you're very transparent. You don't want to budge on your passion, right? And I don't want to take away your thunder because I think that your story is so amazing and I want people to hear it directly from you. And I don't know if we would have the time tonight to cover it all, but I did go ahead and put your hashtag in there, the lender for the people. And I want people to reach out to hear this directly from you. So if you are watching this live, right, or if you're catching it on the replay, type in this hashtag, the lender for the people. That gives Amber permission to be able to go ahead and reach out to you. I promise you, her journey, her story is so incredible. And what's nice and what I love is that you've never wavered from pursuing your passion, even through the heartbreak, even through the heartaches of all the stuff, right? I remember when you called me that day and I was just like, let's just meet up. And I know you're busy, right? But to go from that, to stay persistent, to commit that not only are you going to continue to pursue your passion, but you're going to do it even better than the way you did it before. You're like, I'm tired of holding myself back, right? You made that commitment. You said, I'm going to go forward. I'm going to do things the way that I want to because that's the right thing to do. And then this happens, right? Even just last week, you were like, I'm done holding myself back. You said that. And I was so
Yeah.
proud at that moment. And then to see the results right here, I'm like, dang, right? That's the power of positive thing. That's the power of being true and authentic, right?
Mm.
And then to turn around and again, not knowing the news, but just knowing that you had good news, and for you to turn around and say, I want to get on the Cypher and I want to talk about that. I was like, this has to be huge, right? And man, like I was proud to be known like before just all of this stuff, but I'm so excited and I'm so happy for you and to see where this comes from and to be able to turn around and now that know that you have that ability to really go and do what you want to do, you know? So
Thank you. It's like it's happening. We talked about, like, maybe I'll just have to do it myself. Like, what I want is not
yes.
out there in my company. And you planted the seed, like, well, have you thought about doing it yourself? I was like, I might have to. And then lo and behold, here we go. And not only that, I feel seen as a human being,
Yes.
Mm.
you know?
Yeah. And
Well,
again, Oh, go ahead, Scott. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's interesting because I know Amber, you had purchased some of the merchandise that we have, and the one that you ended up going with was the scripted being torn in half, and then in between it's created as the Fuji lifestyle. So my question is, because of hearing this story and where you're at and whatnot, what really resonated when you saw what we were working on with that specific piece of merchandise? Like, what really resonated with you with the saying, I guess, is what we have. Did it again.
Weeks I can notice.
I'm so sorry. We're gonna have you repeat that because we could not hear it. I apologize.
Your internet decided to say nope. The gremlins got a hold of your connection. This usually happens to me.
The scripted torn apart, and then what's happened for me in these past couple weeks. There was this last final glass box that I was still subconsciously trying to shove myself into, and it was the final kind of shattering of that box, and that to me resonates with that logo. Scripting, it's so important to be vulnerable and transparent, because in that, as the giver of that, you receive also, and they're equally important to give and receive.
Dang, just mic drop it for us so I don't too. So Nicole, again, tuning in here, says congratulations. That's awesome. I think that you and Nicole should connect. Nicole is a person who's not afraid to invest into herself, and I love that about people, right? Because when people understand what they bring to the table, but they want to improve the process, though they want to improve their results, right? That is automatically somebody that I resonate with. But what's cool is that, like, Nicole and I have a lot of similar circles, and we've kind of been around similar circles kind of almost all our lives for the most part through our siblings, right? They've all kind of been connected. But it wasn't until recently that we got a chance to actually connect and really understand kind of what each other is about. And I just love the fact that when people are wanting to better themselves and they want to improve the situations that they're in, right? And again, same thing. When I first met Amber, it was kind of because we knew we had similar interests because somebody had been taken advantage of in the Latino community through finances, and that sucks, right? No, that fucking sucks, right? To continue this path in this conversation, that fucking sucks, right? Because why can't people be human? Why can't people be human first, right? And why is it so hard? And why does things like the idea of money overtake some of that stuff, right? Money is just a vessel. Money is just it allows us to be in a means. But at the end of the day, I mean, God, if you're a horrible person with a lot of money, you're still a horrible person, right? And so I loved Amber's heart from the very beginning, from the first time that I met her. She's never shied away from who she is and her story. But man, so what's the next steps now that this is gone, right? And you've gotten so many things. So I'm like, maybe that book is going to come sooner than what you thought.
It might. I found some old writings that I had scribbled in my notes app, and I was like, oh my gosh, who wrote that? I wrote that? That's pretty good. Maybe I need to keep doing that. So maybe I'll try.
Would it, I know I've already got you on here, but I'm like, let's go for it all. So maybe Amber's willing to share some of the things that she's written?
Negative.
If you do, I will.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me see where my phone is. I will share one portion. 1 second.
Power of persuasion, Scott. If you're willing, I'm willing, right?
Who's willing?
I told her.
If I'm willing, you're willing? Oh, we got a challenge going on? What's going on?
Well, I told her, I said, I'll share if you share.
Well, it's just like Garrett. Garrett's like, when he read that one post that you had made about the brand against mundanity that we had utilized, and Garrett's like, I didn't understand. Like, he didn't read it thoroughly or something like that. So that's why he had the comment with Jimmy Fallon saying, "What?"
Yeah.
And then we hit him up with that feet reply. So
And then there was no response after that. Oh man.
I think Amber potential book.
Oh, for sure. For
Okay,
sure.
you're in luck.
We're over here talking about things that Amber should be doing while she's off.
I love that Atari sweatshirt, by the way. I need to get me one.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
I saw it at the store and almost fainted.
Is that you with the background, Scott? Oh, yep, it sure is. Okay. I ignore the feet comments now from Dr. G. That's so funny. Okay. So two rules when you're reading your own stuff, okay? One, you don't tell us how you feel about it. And two,
Okay.
you don't apologize.
Okay.
And I'm going to just shut myself up and you just go whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Throughout my life, I've encountered numerous obstacles. I have been given every justification for a carte blanche to be an addicted, crazy, or dead person. I would like to share with you my story, my goals, my accomplishments, and the helpings of love that have gotten me through. I have been through a lot in my life, and I've always known it was to share with the next person in hopes to help them through. I have learned a lot, and I'm indebted to my experience to share. Growing up, I never knew my experience was unique, much less rare. I had a loving grandfather, a loving mother, a great sense of community within my family. As I got older, things began to change. I began to understand what was really going on instead of those rose-colored glasses I had been given to look through my whole life until that point. As I got older, I spent more and more time. Bye-bye, honey. Oh my God. As I got older, I spent more and more time at my own house instead of my grandparents, and slowly, not any time at my grandparents. My life with my mom was filled with excitement, adventure, confusion, wonder, and pride. When I was 17, my mom was finally diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. It wasn't till then that I began to think about understanding my experience as a child and young adult. She looked at me, holding some pills in her hand, and with tears in her eyes, saying, "Don't leave me." I wanted to scream and run away. I was frozen with emotion overload. I couldn't think, I couldn't speak. I don't even remember what I said, but I remember the slow motion walk down the hall to the front door and into my car. My stepbrother and sister, clueless, in the back seat, ready to have some fun. I can't tell you what we did or anything else that happened that day. The memory is gone. It is through unselfish love, empathy, and understanding that I have come to where I am now with my mom. I accept and I love her where she is, and I can tell that we are both better for it. Without the intentional decision to love through not just the good times, but the extremely hard times, this would not have been possible. I have been afraid for my life. I've had to, on my own, leave an abusive situation with my 2-year-old twins at the time and end up in a new state living in a shelter. In the shelter, I found staff of people who extended love to my children and I, which was a huge catalyst into where I ended up. Through the love shown to me, I was able to get a great job and have a complete stranger find and fix a car just in the nick of time for me to start my new job. We lived there for 3 months, and it is with that experience that I gained the job. It is with that experience at that job that I am where I am today. Love can be grand, but usually small acts of kindness shared from the heart that has made the most difference in my life. It is through love that we let go of anger. It is through love that we overcome adversity. It is through love that we overcome pain. And it is through love that we treat others not just solely as human, but an important, valuable being with whom we share this earth and reality. The end.
Like, holy shit. Wow. Like, I know you were nervous as hell to come on again tonight, right? I know that. But here you are, being you, being in your element, killing it. And the fact that you've only been authentic and that people see you for who you are, right? I know you're on a high right now that is so uncontrollable, and this is just the very beginning, right? I'm super excited. And it's funny that you pulled that piece of writing out, right? Because I just chose one at random that I told you I would share too. This was written, let's see, July of 2018. Okay. I'll screenshot it and everything so you could see when it was published. That way you know that I'm not BS, and anybody else that's watching, you guys can check that out on my Facebook. I'll put it on there. July 2018, okay? And it's funny because sometimes I just never know where all this stuff comes from, or I thought that I was writing it for myself, and it turns out that it wasn't for me at all. To hold back is to limit yourself. The distance is never ending, but to stop and to quit, that is regret that will haunt you forever. Sometimes we have to walk to catch our breath and pause to take in the sights, but we have to keep on pushing. We have to keep on moving. We have to press on. Not just for ourselves, but for others. We have to cover a lot of distances to catch up to our predecessors, to our legacies. We have to make up for lost time. We have to leave a big trail so that our children know where to follow. Create a safe space and open opportunities. The bigger the gap you leave for your kids to chase, the bigger their journey is going to be. Amber, do not hold yourself back. Do not use crutches and excuses. You have 2 legs and a dream, and that's your key to motivation. Chase those dreams. Literally use your legs to get up and get going. One step at a time. Because every passing day that we sit, we have to make up more ground. So many people get to the point where the grass is their highest mountains, but not for you. You cut grass, you cut dreams, and you don't limit yourself. And the little chasing every day builds endurance, stamina, and gets you closer and closer. Every hill that you climb leads you to the mountaintop. Amber, your journey begins right now. Don't wait. Ascend to new levels. Dare yourself to be the very best version of yourself and give yourself vision so bright that your kids see it. Imagine what successful you looks like and compare that. Allow your past to be proud of its future. Because deep down, you already know what you need to do. So just do it. Make yourself so damn happy that people aspire to be like you. Make yourself so damn happy that people ask you questions. Go and ascend.
Wow. Thank you. That was awesome.
No, it's again, I didn't know what it was written for, and then these things kind of have a way to circle back, and all I did was just basically add your name to a poem that had been written years ago. And again, it's been sitting there for a long time, but I think it's so freeing with everything that you're doing, and all of the things that you've been doing to build up to this poem, to this moment in time. I knew it was only a matter of time. Maybe you did at some point, but also at the same time, maybe you didn't, right? It's kind of that weird game that we play. But to be able to move forward, to be able to be in the moment and capture this, right? That's a piece that not a lot of people remember or hold on to. And so I encourage you to use your gifts, right? The writing is a gift that maybe I didn't know that you had that till tonight, right? But I think that's affirmation twice, right? All of these emails and then coming on here, doing all those things. And so, again, I think that you're so much more than just the lender for the people, You're the person for the people, right? You are truly living proof of the American dream, right? And as people will understand your story, as you talked about, literally leaving abusive relationships, right? That shows your strength, being a single mom, living and going from shelters, right, to doing what you do. That is all part of your resiliency and part of the story to tell. And I think I speak on behalf for Scott and I that we're just honored to be here in this moment while you're going through all this stuff to be able to celebrate with you.
Thank you, guys. Oh, that means a lot. I appreciate it. I knew immediately. I was like, Patrick, what I want to talk about later. And it's Wednesday.
No, I'm just so thankful. And, the beautiful part for Scott and I is that we never know what we're going to get, right? And that's the beauty of it being completely unscripted and not knowing, and that allows us to aimlessly walk into situations like this and to be able to celebrate and get, learn from other people and what they're doing and all those things. So, let's see. Dr. G says, you too, man. So good. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
G.
you.
And Nicole, I love hearing both of your writings. You've inspired me to keep writing as well. Nicole, and again, I'll talk to Amber as well. But one of the things that has really helped build a basis for me to kind of go along with some of these things is I used to actually host a lot of these writing courses and teach other people about creative writing. And for some people, it's a true outlet, right, that they've never had before to relinquish, maybe kept up feelings. A lot of people, when I used to stream on Twitch, we used to do these open mics, and some people who hadn't written in 20 years or people who were writing every day and never shared their stuff felt compelled. And it's a whole different outlet that you give yourself, right? Because you can completely put in any twist that you want. You can put it in third person, so it feels like it's somebody else. You can put it into an I, you can put it into things. And so I really know, I really think that that's probably something that we're going to go back to. I know some people have been asking me for almost a year now when we're going to go back to some of these creative writings and some of these courses. I think that as a business owner and entrepreneur, it's a great skill set to have, because being able to capture in whatever moment you're in, right? Whether it's maybe a moment of failure or falling forward, maybe it's a moment of success and greatness, wherever it is, nobody can describe it better than you being in that moment. And that's such a powerful thing, regardless of where you're at. And that's what I love about writing so much, is that you can literally find motivation in the worst of times. It may not be for you, right? But that somebody else could probably resonate with it. That you may feel better, or who knows, maybe you may feel so much worse because you've been able to dialogue it out amongst yourself and get that out. And that's really the power of kind of digging into yourself and having the ability to unlock your full potential, is by being honest with yourself and your feelings. A lot of times we're bottled up. So Scott, I know that you have so much more insight in regards to that, man. So please chime in and tell us a little bit more in terms of your perspective and the things that you've learned.
It goes back to ultimately your story right here is huge. This is a huge gift because you don't know who catches this. And for anybody that's watching this now, share this to the max. Anybody that's watching this on the replay, share this to the max, because we have individuals that we know, but we don't know the full gamut. And by hearing your story and seeing where you're at now and what you've been able to overcome and embracing the challenges, because it's crazy to think, let me go embrace these challenges, but ultimately that's what life is about, is that journey and the challenges. But somebody has to hear this message. Who that is, we don't know. And I think it goes into it goes into really, you can't judge. Ultimately, take the spotlight off of yourself and put it on other people, and that can be scary. And I think by taking this step that you're taking now, Amber, it opens up the door where you're like, yep, let me go ahead and share my message. If people don't resonate with it, cool. They're not meant to be part of the journey. They're not here for you. And those that do are part of that mission, part of the journey, whatever it is. And I would ask, when you look at what's taking place and the wins that are working and coming your way now, when you think about where you're at now, what would you like to accomplish, or what would you like to bring to the forefront on your next part of the journey? Or what can Patrick and our community, do to help you with whatever that is? I was telling Patrick, I was like, this is a perfect way to write a book. And so that's something to think about. Maybe it's creating the support group for individuals that have gone through a similar situation, and you can lead the charge and start giving hope back to people by sharing that story. And they can see, and they're like, man, Amber did it. I know right now it sucks and it's crazy, but I can get through it too. But I need to have that tribe. I need to have that support system. And so for you, have you thought about what that next step is, what the next iteration is? What is that next step of your journey?
I don't know. I kind of been following where I've been led, and although sometimes you can't see what's in front of you, you know, I had a feeling something had been in the works, and so I would just hope now to, when I first moved here, I didn't know anybody, and my whole thing was like, I want a community, and I want to help sew together, the fabrics and pieces of Colorado Springs so that we feel unified and supporting one another. And that's part of my main mission here. And on the other hand is I've always known that I'm supposed to be in a speaking teaching capacity, and I've gone through many things in my life in rapid succession in order to gain the knowledge to share. So that's kind of the other leg of things, and I don't know which ones, maybe they're connected. I really can't tell. Like, today is such a miraculous thing. I would have never been able to imagine this kind of response, so I couldn't even tell you.
Can I make a suggestion
Mm-hmm.
of where to start?
Yes.
Chilaquiles. No, I really think, though, honestly, like, this is just the tip of the things to come. I know that you've had a long plan in place, and it's just a matter of waiting for all that. And what I would love is for you to consider, after kind of seeing where this goes, coming back, updating us on your journey. Again, keeping us as part of the buy-in process so we understand and how we can better support and kind of see how this goes. But ultimately, I mean, we're just fans and want to be there, for whatever that we can do to help.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys for the push. I needed this push.
It was there all along. It was there all along.
Thank you guys. So, and you know what? I've never shared anything I've ever written with anyone. Just so you know.
I do it again. Yes. Just kidding. No, there really is something freeing about being in that spot. I posted a selfie today, right? And I'm not really big into posting selfies. I'll take pictures with other people, but to actually like do it myself is really a tough thing to do. And I realized recently how much damage I had self-inflicted to myself. At the end of the day, I could easily turn around and say, yeah, I went through all that stuff because I had a horrible relationship and I had a horrible upbringing. But what Scott and I talk about all the time, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're going through, 100% of the time, there is always one single factor in all of those events, which is yourself. And for a lot of people, that's really tough to turn around and say, did I play a role into some of those things? Maybe it was my biggest downfall. Did I play a role into me going through the worst parts of my life? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. That's not for us to decide. That's only something that you can decide, right? But what you can also decide moving forward is, will you ever allow yourself to get there again? Or are you going to turn around and say, I'm done holding myself back like Amber, screw that. I'm the lender for the people, and I'm moving forward. Bam, right? So again, take responsibility. Be responsible for what you want life to be and make it that way. You truly have that power deep within, and it's really hard for a lot of people to accept that, because
It's
with
hard
that
work. It
comes
takes a
great
lot of
responsibility.
introspection. It takes a lot of accepting the fact that, yeah, we did some things wrong sometimes, and making that change and holding yourself accountable to the changes you do make. It people are afraid to be honest with themselves. It's hard for a lot of people, and I'm the opposite. Like, I am honest and transparent to a fault. I'm like, did I overshare? Whoops.
No, and you know what's really cool is I hope that you and Amber are able to, or I'm sorry, Amber, I hope that you and Nicole are able to connect and share stories. Um, you know, she's got a couple of things that she does in terms of multiple businesses and things like that. And at some point, we're gonna have to get Nicole on here, because I really want to hear more about Nicole's story and what her journey looks like. And it's amazing to kind of see how people are tuned in, where they're at, what they're picking up. And we all have that hero's journey that we need to go on, as Scott often talks about, which I love. I love that tagline, hero's journey, because at the end of the day, we're all kind of writing our own story, right? And sometimes we're consistently rewriting the story that we want to tell. But again, until there's a final chapter, until you're gone, the good news is that you can continue to build that any way that you want to.
Yeah, this has been amazing, guys.
Maybe we can all meet up for Chilaquiles and connect. I'm down for that.
We should. Yeah, we should. What,
Yeah.
tomorrow's what, Thursday? I've been off a day this week, but Thursday you have your thing. So Friday
Yeah, I think next week or the week after may be ideal. Fortunately, I'm going to be heading out of town for my wife's birthday
birthday
this
stuff.
weekend. Yeah. Finding Joe, watch it often. Absolutely. Good. I like that one. So before we get to one of Scott's favorite segments, which is the pod decks, I did want to kind of just open up in terms of basically, like, since you've been able to kind of share a piece of this, since, I mean, there has to be kind of a renewed sense of purpose. There's probably also a higher confidence. But I mean, just share with us, what does this moment feel like for you right now?
It's indescribable. There's been and special things put in place for me, and it is humbling. Like, a little over time, it's like, I work really hard, and I've worked really hard to change my life and to help other people change their lives. I'm so grateful and thankful, that I was able to walk into this opportunity. Lots of things in my life, just happen to be at the right place at the right time, and the right person saw my stuff, and it's just kind of the culmination of all of my, those days. Success also looks like hanging on those days that you're just hanging by a thread. You know what I mean? And so to just have all of that come circle back to the beginning, like, I'm on a slingshot and the CEO just pulled me way back here, and I'm about to, you know what I mean?
All right.
And it's insane.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for allowing us to get some insight of you being in the moment. I know it's oftentimes hard to describe it, with the proper words and things like that. But we're excited to see where this goes. We're excited to continue to follow your story and your journey. With that, let's go ahead and get into these pod decks, and these are completely random questions. Specifically, Guy created these for podcasters to be able to have questions and content for people. And so, Scott, if you got any of those pod decks, we're ready. And I'm going to go a little bit different than what we've done in the past. I'm going to have you read the question, have us answer, and then make sure we get your answer in there as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
as he disconnects. I see how you are.
Cool.
Cool. See you later. No, he may come back here in just a few minutes. I know sometimes his stuff freezes up, and I'm guessing that's kind of what happened here. Can I just say that I'm so proud of you?
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you can.
My dog's popping up on the bed. Hey, Brody.
I see. Mine's been going nuts. He's looking out the window.
Brody, you gonna jump on the podcast? He's like, nope. He's like, what you talking about? He's talking about Dad. Come here. Come here.
Oh, was that a Bichon?
So, no, he's a mini poodle. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Like,
yeah.
you're like, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Peace.
So if I go pull them up, it kicks me off. So the one that I pulled up, it was would you rather wake up in the middle of the forest having to find your way out, or go sleep in a cemetery with your best friend?
Or what?
Sleep in a cemetery with your best friend.
I think the forest one.
I'm gonna say forest
the
too,
nature.
because the idea of like sleeping in a cemetery is weird. At least for me. I know some people might like that.
I don't know. I look at it because somebody brought up the fact that the cemetery grave sites are actually the biggest source of knowledge that has never come to fruition. It's a lot of people end up passing away and never let their dreams be shared or ideas be brought to life. And so you never know. Maybe you're sleeping there, which is kind of crazy, but you're sleeping in the cemetery and you have an idea that pops up because you're there. And so that's kind of crazy to think about, but you never know.
That is crazy, but it's also kind of like, in one way, it's kind of a beautiful thought too. You know what I mean? So maybe
True.
we get just Chilaquiles and we go and sit in the cemetery and see what ideas we can come up with. I don't know. It's crazy. Dr. G says, I'd rather forest, but I'd do either. I'm all about ghost hunting. Fair enough. You know, I'm down for some of those things too. My wife is a chicken, but I'm open to trying some of those things. What did you say, Scott? What was your answer?
I would sleep in the cemetery just because it's one of those unique things when you think about it. It's a creepy thing, but you never know. Like, the idea sucks into your head, the energy and whatnot. So you could have a money-making idea that somebody was scared to share and bring that to life, or have some different thoughts that you haven't considered. But like I said, it's kind of one of those crazy things that you're like, why do we even have this question? Well, you can think that to Travis Brown and his partner that created Pod Decks.
Well, I find it interesting, right? That you're willing to go sleep in a cemetery, but you don't want to watch scary movies.
Yeah, I don't know. So
not that I'm trying to rag or put your business out there. I just find it interesting, you know, with being authentic and real in the moment here. So, all right, next question.
All right, well, it's gonna kick me off again, but yeah, let me go pull it up real quick.
Okay. Nicole, if you're still around, let us know if you had a choice, which one you would go with, or anybody else in the chat if you're catching this on the replay. By the way, if you are catching this live, #live. If you're catching this on the replay, which you probably are at this point in time because it's going to be a little bit later, #replay. Let us know what your thoughts, questions, concerns. Also, again, love to give a shout out to the Chicken Coop. Again, guys, you know, you have no idea how thankful we are for the sponsors that we have, for the things that we do. It's truly humbling to know that that businesses right here in our town understand what we're trying to do and want to be a part of that process. So again, big shout out to the Chicken Coop and Cherry and all that stuff. And thank you for that #live, Dr. G.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, cool. So it didn't kick me off this time, which is
Wait, what'd you say? No, I'm being serious. I can't hear you. Hello?
I'm
Scott.
Can you hear me now?
Are you in the online cemetery?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right. So the question was that it's WTF. So it's if you could bring back any dead famous person, who would it be?
Tupac. Sorry.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one, actually. He needs to. He could probably
that's a
teach
really good one.
these new guys something.
That's a really good one.
For me, I think it would probably be Robert Frost. I would love to hear the poetry that he writes based off of today's world. And what kind of shit he might come up with.
I can see that. I think I can see that because you're real big with the spoken word. For me, one of the individuals would be Bob Marley, because music, as we know, is a universal language, but just how he would write and speak to people and really touch the soul is something that's really needed.
Nicole says, I love the forest so much, so that'd be my choice for sure. And Nicole also says, yes, please bring back Tupac.
You know, he actually went to an art school and he was a poet.
Yes. Well, and he talks about that all the time, right? He says, I'm not a rapper, I'm a thug poet, right? And so it's funny because, like, my wife, she's like, I don't want to say she's shy. She has a confidence about her, but she's kind of closed when it comes to like certain things. And, you know, with her clients, she's wide open. And, you know, but again, people still learn stuff about her all the time. And man, like the worst song from Tupac is her favorite song, which is the Hit 'Em Up, right? And I'm like, of all the songs, that's your favorite, right?
I thought you were gonna bring up Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Oh man, no, there is a video out there that I recorded her trying to sing that song. She will punch me in the face if I bring it up again, but it's worth it. It's worth it. If you can find it on my page, go through my videos, look for that. And again, you know, I shouldn't say nobody, but not many people can recite the words the way that they say it, right? And so I just recorded her one day singing it the way that she sings it. It's worth going back to find that. Okay, let's do one more pod deck, and then I have one more thing to change it up just to close us out.
All right. So, like I said, if it kicks me off, that's why. So I'll just be patient here.
Scott, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Scott, are you there?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Gotta love it. Can you hear me?
Scott, are you there? we're messing with you, man. No, we could hear you.
Okay, well, you never know. So it's like, what? So let's see here.
Thanks for going along with that. That was funny. Amber's like, oh, hello.
That's how we work, okay? All right. Thinking here.
By the way, I haven't eaten dinner, and I think I'm gonna grab sushi.
What do most people take for granted that you vowed never to take for granted?
There's a few.
As he disconnects.
Or like, you know, emotionally, there's a few. Basically, I think people take walking for granted. I hurt my ribs recently, and I was, you know, a lot
Can
of
you hear
pain.
me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Am I?
No,
Okay.
can't.
So I said, what is oh my goodness, really? Can you hear me now? Or is that joke?
We could hear you the whole time. It's just that we already heard you repeat the question, and Amber's in the middle of answering, and you're like, "Can you hear me?" And then repeated the question.
Well, I'm kidding that on me. Okay, go ahead, answer.
I think physically people take for granted being able to walk. I broke my foot when the twins were not even 2, and it was terrible. I couldn't do anything, and I didn't imagine the emotional effect of not being able to do things that it was going to take. And then otherwise, I would say time.
Absolutely, yeah. For me, when I launched the business, I used to work these scripts through Messenger, through anybody who would listen, right? And they were awful. Like, people would cut me off in the middle of conversation, or people would like stop talking, that because they'd be like, "Hey, how's the business going?" Right? And I'm like, "Well, first of all, that's so cool that you know that I'm running a business, right? Because we haven't talked in a while, so you saw it." And then I'd be like, things are going well, and surprisingly, I'm busy, blah, blah, blah. If you ever wanted to go ahead and run some numbers, and people will like stop the conversation. I didn't realize that they just wanted oh, we're good, answer. I was like, oh, I was trying to dialogue and then maybe ask for a sale, and it was terrible, right? So anyway, there was a point in time, I think probably a month and a half, 2 months in, where I was like, man, something has to change. I can't be using these scripts. I'm not a person who really, even though it's part of the business, being in sales, you're going to hear no a lot. For me, I'm like, I'm new. My feelings are already hurt because I'm not making anything. I got to figure this out. Right. And the last thing I want to hear is no all the time. But I kind of went back to an old adage, an old business model that still I think is probably the number one thing for anything or for anyone. And that's, how do you build relationships? And so when I decided that I was committed, because I lost so much time from friends, family, people I care about, because I was in a sales environment prior to launching my business. I lost out on stuff because I was irritable based off of my sales and my goals, and I didn't have time because in the mornings I would have to go and find the new inspirational video, and I lived this life that was just kind of like up and down every single day. My family, they didn't deserve this up and down emotional roller coaster depending on how I was doing, right? And so what I did was I promised that when I scheduled meetings for people, that I was not going to rush in and talk about the business, that I was going to spend that time getting to know people for who they are, what they do, what's going on, and that they would not walk away from that conversation without me asking them, how can I better support you? And it has yielded so many results, because for me, the goal, right? The goal of 2NS is to impact 1 billion people. The goal of moving forward is, to impact people in a good way, because I could go and kick 100 people and say I impacted them, but how do you want to impact them? And so for me, when I made that decision and that conscious effort that, hey, if I'm going to take a coffee meeting for somebody, I want them to walk away feeling valued. I want them to know that it's not just another meeting. It doesn't matter if I took 50 in a day or if I took one a day, that person was getting my attention. And some people, you're not going to resonate with everyone, and that's okay. But the ones that have, right? People like Amber, people like yourself, Scott, people like Nicole and Garrett, and I mean, we're building a tribe of people who basically, they want so much more than they've ever had, and they're willing to give more than that they've ever had, knowing that it builds toward a purpose. And so that was something that I think a lot of people maybe take for granted for business. I've met people who've been in business for 20 plus years. I've met people who've been in business for 6 months, and everywhere in between. And you've got some people where all they want is to exchange leads. And that's perfectly well, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, blah, 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 whatever. But then you also have, it's like, you're my people. Leads, no leads, it doesn't matter. I'm supporting you, whatever you do. Right. And I think that you look back on a lot of the groups of people that have been extremely successful, right? Think and Grow Rich has a lot of people that talk about Merrill Lynch when he was a person, right? But still, the tribe and the mentality that they have, you look through a lot of these existentialism groups, right? That had Tesla, that had Einstein, that had Socrates, Pluto, Aristotle, all of those guys. And it goes back for thousands of years, and they were continue to shine through. You got the alchemists, you got all of these people. And why were they all successful? Is because they knew that it didn't matter if Amber was going to try 100 different things. She knew that if she did 100 things, that 100 times, that people were going to support her. She knew that if she did something, it didn't matter every single time, that one of them was bound to hit. right? And I think that that's kind of the tribe that we're building. And so I know that I've gone super long in regards to answering this question, but I just thought it was so important to share because I feel like for me that has been key for a lot of things for me.
No, I think that's huge. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I honestly, because of the journey that I've been on and where I'm at and what's led to everything now. I think the one thing a lot of people take for granted that I vow not to take for granted now is actually having an open mind and being able to have these type of discussions without the fear of what other people think. And I think that's huge because people want to have these open dialogues, but they get to the point where people don't give them the space. They can't show up as they want to, because everybody's in their headspace judged by themselves. And so it's finding those authentic people that really give people the space to open up and be true to themselves. But it goes to the point that you got to love yourself and you got to be open to yourself. And I think a lot of people miss out on that because of what we're raised with in society, the paradigm, the stupid stuff that gets stuck in our heads. And then people don't go through a situation that can be very detrimental, but it opens up the door to really do the deep work and say, is this really who I am? And I think that's one thing too, is when those hard times come into play, not taking them for granted because they are there for a reason, growth, progression, to help you see something that you didn't see before, but it's doing that work and not being scared of the challenge or the obstacles that are there.
I love that, man. And I just learn so much from you all the time, man. So I'm super thankful to be able to call you friend and business partner. I learn a lot, and I'm inspired by you daily, man. So thank you for that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Dr. G says never take sushi for granted. That's some good stuff. Oh man, you're awesome, man. Thank you so much. So I want to close this out a little bit differently than anything that we've done in the past. You know, for us, we're all about trying new things, and I will go first just because I'm introducing something. I already put Amber in the spot quite a bit today, but to have this moment to kind of reflect back on, you know, and in the moment of creating moments to reflect and things for you to hold on to, you know, over the course of a lifetime. That's always the goal, right? Is to be memorable, to make sure that you have those things. I want you to share a story or a moment, something that takes you back, whether it's a childhood memory, whether it's just something that maybe is completely off the cuff that for you sticks out, and maybe explain a little bit as to why it sticks out. And the thought process behind this here is that because we're connecting, because we're doing these things, we just want to know those things that maybe you don't get a chance to share, right? So in closing, this will be kind of the last thing that we touch base on. And like I said, I'll go first here. You may not be able to see it, but I have like this scar right here. Okay. And so when I was younger, I went to hop a fence, and it was a metal gated fence, and I fell, landed on a rock right here. And so my brother, growing up for the longest time, used to call me Cyclops. And it used to piss me off so bad. And my brother was like, he's 4 years older than me. He was a lot bigger than me. You know, I think he graduated high school at like 165, 175 pounds. I graduated high school at 110 pounds. You know, so we were just kind of opposite in that perspective. But he used to always do it. And my brother always used to mess with me, right? I remember one time I fell asleep watching Saturday Night Live, and he was like tickling my nose with a feather, right? You know, and it's just kind of those little things. Like he used to always I'd be falling asleep or I'd be sleeping. He tried to get me to sleep talk, you know? And so it was just kind of like those things. And again, you know, a lot of people don't even realize I have a brother because I don't talk about him too often. And I don't know why that is, but you know, when I look back at some of the things, you know, and some of those memories, like I laugh. You know, I remember also one time my brother went to church, and it was time for him to kind of like be like, they used to do the offering or whatever for kids. And I remember my brother's friend didn't have money, so he ripped $1 in half and gave half to his friend. You know what I mean? And so it's just kind of some of those things like that that really like make me laugh, because my brother had to grow up really early to essentially help take care of my sister and I, because my mom left when I was 9. And so when I look back on some of the things, I remember him, like when I was sick, he'd make me chicken noodle soup, and he thought it was like the funniest thing that I told me he made like the best chicken noodle soup in the world because I was sick. And so like one time I wrote a poem that was called Brother Campbell, which is, for Campbell's soup and stuff like that. And so when I look back on some of the things, like, at some point, I don't know where relationships go, or whatever. It's a lot of work, to be able to maintain those. But when I have memories specifically of my brother, it kind of instantly takes me back to realize like dang, he did so much for me. And that have been something that's I've been thinking of for the past couple of days, so I thought I would just kind of share. Any volunteers to go next?
I'll go next. One of my fond memories is every holiday, my grandpa would cook. He was the cook in the house. And we would all get there super early and music and laugh and dance and snack, and dinner would never be ready till 8 or 9, whether it was Christmas, Thanksgiving, or whatever. But I always look back at those times with it just made me feel so good. And that's what I create now, with my kids. I'm the cook, but we dance and we do music and we laugh, and we always find the joy in whatever we can.
I love that.
Very beautiful. And it's unique because really ultimately what sticks out is doing an exercise through the Buddha and the Badass book by the Chilaquiles. And it's these exercises of finding your foundational values. And it's one of those things that is unique because you go back to the past. And one of my foundational values, well, a couple of them are relationships and love. And so love is really my self-love, but also love and relationships go hand in hand. But I was living out east. I was in Falcon, so Colorado native, hence the name Two Native Sons. And I was him. My sister was 3, and I was outside with a wooden bat, sitting around hitting rocks with it. And I didn't know where my sister was. And this one backswing came back, and I just hear this sickening thud and crack, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And look back, my sister is out, and I think she was out for 5 minutes. So legitimately, I almost killed my sister. Like when you hear siblings joke if I could have killed my sister or brother, I almost killed my sister. And it's one of those things that until I did the exercise, I did not really realize it. But by having that death almost take place and missing out on that relationship is one of those unique things when you do the deep dive. But also when me and my ex went, we had 2 daughters, and we went through a miscarriage. And so you just never know with that miscarriage who that baby was, who that baby could have been, what they would have brought to the earth. And so life is short. Relationships are very important. And I tell people your success is really determined upon the relationships that you build. We have to be mindful about the relationships. And so it's one of those things that the memories, it's doing the exercise, doing the work and whatnot, brings out those things that really you find out truly what's near and dear to you as an individual, really drives you as an individual.
Yeah, no, you're 100%. And the thing is that we just never know who's impacted by what. And so I think a lot of that ties back to also kind of your thing about not taking things for granted, right? And keeping that open mindset. Because again, for some people, right, and I can say this with full confidence because I feel like that I've been on both sides of the stick, being somebody who's gone through suicide and depression to somebody who feels like that, like life is a dream in some ways, right? But I feel like that no matter where you're at, you just never know. right? And I try to tell people all the time, especially with the mental health community, because especially when it comes to suicide stuff, right? You could be the difference maker for somebody, and you just never know. A simple hi, a simple hello, a simple act of kindness, um, could be somebody's saving grace, and we never know. And we never know either way. I mean, maybe you set somebody off too, right? Um, so it's when you understand and try to look at it from a different lens or different perspective, which is often hard to do, especially if we're in our feelings or our emotions. But I think a lot of that all kind of ties back to just all the things that we've talked about tonight. So just some food for thought, And again, I want to thank Amber for jumping on here, sharing her good news, and man, we're excited to see what goes next. Don't forget about us when you're writing
Thanks
great
for
things.
having me.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, big shout out again to the chicken coop. Man, again, we can't thank you enough for taking a chance on us. And Sherry, we're definitely very appreciative for all the things that you do, and we're excited to learn from you in terms of how to take care of people and build this tribe. We will catch you guys next week on the Dreamer Cypher. I don't know if we have Scott Gill next week or the week after. I can't remember, but I know we've got some dynamic people coming up here, and again, unscripted, so we never know what's going to happen. But we'll catch you guys next time.
Let's go.